There are certain stories that don't begin with drama or scandal. They begin with a boy who carried both hope and hardship in his pocket. And for Michael J. Fox, the journey that shaped him started long before Hollywood lights or blockbuster fame. It began on June 9, 1961, in Edmonton, Alberta, inside a household where discipline and creativity collided in the most extraordinary way. Michael Andrew Fox was the fourth child in a lively home filled with noise, love, and the constant shuffle of a family always on the move. His father, William Fox, served both as a police officer and a member of the Canadian Forces, bringing structure and order to the household. His mother, Phyllis, brought balance, a working actress and payroll clerk, with a resilience that quietly pushed Michael to dream. Together, they stitched together a life marked by strict routines, sudden relocations, and a warmth that made even the smallest moments feel big. It wasn't until 1971, when his father retired, that the Fox family finally planted their roots in Burnaby, a suburb of Vancouver. For Michael, that single moment, staying in one place, felt like finally getting a chance to breathe. And in that stability, something remarkable began to grow. He loved hockey like every other Canadian kid. He wanted the roar of the NHL crowd, the glory, the grit. But reality didn't bend for childhood dreams. His smaller size held him back, forcing him to let go of the fantasy he clung to. Yet sometimes, a closed door is nothing more than life nudging someone toward where they're truly meant to be.
In his teenage years, Michael discovered something new: music, visual art, and the electric pulse of storytelling. The stage called to him, not gently, not quietly. It pulled him in with a force he didn't understand yet, but trusted. At just 15 years old, he stepped into a CBC audition for a show called Leo and Me, and the world began to tilt. He got the role. Suddenly, he wasn't just a kid with a dream. He was a kid walking into a destiny. But everything he did in Canada was only the beginning. At 18, armed with grit instead of guarantees, he moved to Los Angeles. No family, no fame, just hope, auditions, and a belief that he belonged somewhere inside the chaos of Hollywood. Breaking into the industry wasn't easy. Nothing about Michael J. Fox's life ever had been, but his perseverance never cracked. Then came the turning point. 1982. Family ties. The character of Alex P. Keaton didn't just fit him, it launched him. And over 7 years, America fell in love with the quick-witted, ambitious, endlessly charismatic young man who seemed to leap off the screen. Emmy Awards, a Golden Globe, critical acclaim. Michael J. Fox became a household name. And then came Marty McFly. Back to the Future didn't just change his career, it changed pop culture itself. The role transformed him into a global symbol of youthful energy, rebellious charm, and boundless possibility. Sequels followed, a cultural phenomenon. Legacy was cemented, and Michael was everywhere. Television, film, magazines, late-night shows, a superstar with no signs of slowing. Yet beneath the bright lights, life prepared another turning point. One darker, heavier, and far more defining. In the late 1980s, Michael received a diagnosis that would reshape every corner of his existence. Parkinson's disease. Progressive, unforgiving, life-altering. But instead of disappearing, he fought back. He worked, he filmed, he delivered performance after performance. Doc Hollywood, For Love or Money, Life with Mikey, Greedy. Then came Spin City, where he once again proved his comedic genius and won the hearts of millions all over again. Every appearance, every line, every scene became a symbol of resilience. His voice work, Homeward Bound, Stuart Little, Atlantis, brought laughter and hope to families across the world. And through the struggle, he found another calling, telling the truth. His books, Lucky Man, Always Looking Up, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Future, revealed the highs, the lows, and the lessons that shaped a man refusing to give up. His personal life was just as remarkable. In 1988, he married Tracy Pollan, the woman who became both his partner and his anchor. Together, they built a family of 4 children, held together by love, creativity, and a devotion that outshined Hollywood's usual chaos. But at 64, after decades of fame, illness, triumph, and transformation, Michael J. Fox began reflecting on something few celebrities ever speak openly about: his own funeral. And what he revealed shocked fans everywhere. Before we continue, if you knew your time was limited, who would you want at your final goodbye? And who would you quietly prefer not to be there? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to know what you think. Now, the truth Michael shared was surprisingly candid, and in some cases, brutally honest. He revealed that there are certain people, all of them famous, all of them connected to his long career, who he does not want attending his funeral. The first name he mentioned, Lea Thompson, his co-star from the Back to the Future trilogy. Michael spoke with honesty, not hostility. He explained that while their on-screen chemistry made the movies unforgettable, behind the scenes, their creative dynamic often clashed. Nothing dramatic, nothing scandalous, just a tension that never fully resolved. And in Michael's words, "I don't want even the tiniest spark of awkwardness in that final moment." Then came Patricia Heaton. Michael described her as talented, accomplished, but not someone he ever connected with on a deeper emotional level. He said he wanted his funeral
to be a space filled only with authenticity, love, and the people who walked beside him through life's hardest storms. And Patricia, despite being respected, simply wasn't part of that inner circle. Next, he spoke about Quentin Tarantino, a visionary, a genius, a man Michael deeply respects, but whose intense energy and philosophical curiosity didn't belong in the quiet, reflective atmosphere he envisioned. "Funerals aren't a place for film theory debates," he said with a smile. Then he named Johnny Depp. Michael acknowledged Depp's unmatched originality, his talent, his magnetic presence. But he also explained that in intimate moments, Depp's unpredictable, larger-than-life aura might unintentionally overshadow the peace he wanted his family to have. And finally, and most surprisingly, he mentioned George Clooney. Charming, kind, loved by everyone. But Michael said even good intentions can shift the mood. Clooney's natural charisma, his ability to command a room, might unintentionally take the spotlight away from Michael's family, something he deeply wanted to avoid. And so, he made a choice. These names, respected, admired, even loved, simply didn't belong in that final chapter of his story. What's striking is that none of this came from bitterness, not from anger, not from grudges. It came from a place of clarity. For a man who's spent his entire life in the public eye, Michael J. Fox has learned the importance of protecting emotional space, of choosing stillness over spectacle, peace over pressure. His honesty reminds us that legacy is not measured by applause, but by the people we choose to stand beside us when the lights finally dim. Michael's reflections invite us to rethink our own boundaries, to ask ourselves who belongs in our final moments and why, and to understand that even at the end, the choice is ours, and it's deeply personal. Through everything, fame, illness, triumph, heartbreak, Michael J. Fox remains exactly who he has always been: thoughtful, sincere, humorous, and unafraid to speak the truth, even when the world might raise an eyebrow. And maybe that's the ultimate lesson in his story. Even when contemplating the end, he chooses authenticity, quiet love, true connection, and peace. A farewell shaped not by who shows up, but by who he chooses to let in.